Hi, it's Mark, your Madison Cork Dork. So yesterday was a bit, I wouldn't call it catastrophic per se, but it definitely was not cool. I was having some audio issues on my recording, so hopefully I will not be having any audio issues today. If there are any, just make a comment or give me an angry face or something to let me know if there are any issues that are going on with the audio. So, anyway, again, the purpose of this whole exercise, if you will, is to invite you to learn some other varietals of grapes that you might not have heard of, might not have had, because most people are familiar with Cabernet Sauvignon, most people are familiar with Pinot Noir, most people are familiar with like Merlot, Pinot Grigio, those kinds of things. But I'm here to introduce to you what I would like to call weird grapes. Oh, and it looks like someone's watching this video. Thank you. Let me know if the recording is off, the audio or anything like that. So if you could make a comment indicating that, yeah, no, this audio isn't working, I'll see if I can't figure out something. So whoever you are, awesome. Anyway, so yesterday we went over a few terms, some of which are new to people or people have heard that, quite frankly, just haven't been defined for them. So, body. When someone's talking about the body, it's the mouth feel of the wine. Now, this is analogous to milk. So, does it feel like you have skim milk in your mouth? That's light bodied. 2%, 1%, that's medium bodied, and then whole milk, that's a full body wine. So, when it comes to body, it's all about the mouth feel. Sweetness, dryness, we obviously know what that's all about. Tannin. Tannin is that astringent kind of thing in your mouth. It makes your tongue stick to the roof of your mouth or to your teeth or something to that effect. Acidity has to deal with does it make your mouth water? Does the wine make your mouth water? Um, and then another thing that I didn't really go over per se has to deal with alcohol level. This is something that you might be able to guess, and this is based on how much burning sensation you have in the back of your mouth or at the top of your throat, right around there. So that all being said, yesterday we went over a grape called Averino. Again, one of the reasons why I'm covering this again is because the audio did suck at the time. I hope that it's not sucking right now. So Averino is a light-bodied grape white wine from Spain in the northwest corner near the Atlantic coast area. That's where it's primarily grown. In Portugal, it's grown in the Vinho Verde region of Portugal, and that there it's known as Averino. Okay, so several different types of smells, etc. You have lemon zest, grapefruit, honeydew, nectarine, and saline. All right, so that's a little bit about Albarino. But today, in our little textbook, if you will, Wine Folly Magnum Edition by Madeline Paquette, we're going to go over a fun wine that I'd had at Greek Fest this past year in downtown Madison by the Seoul Greek Orthodox Church. So, this wine is Agiorgitiko. Now, spelling it is probably going to be a headache. So, to spell it out loud, it's Agiorgitiko. That sounds like phonetically, this would sound like what? Agiorgitiko. It's actually Agiorgitiko. So Agiorgitiko. Agiorgitiko. That's the Greek wine. It's actually the most common wine produced in Greece. It's the most common red wine produced in Greece by default as well. The primary area that this grape is grown is in the wow, really, I can't speak. Penelopolesian region of Greece. You know, the little peninsula where the Spartans came from. This is sort of grown in basically their territory. So, Agiorgitiko, like all sorts of wines around the world, has its little fun mythology behind it, or apocrypha, if you will. The story behind it is that it is also known as the blood of Hercules, or Hercules' blood, or something to that effect. Supposedly, that after he had slain the lion of Nema, which is the primary area in Peloponnesia where it's grown, he drank this wine, so known as the blood of Hercules. Or some people say, well, the story is that he drank wine and then fought this lion, which I don't know if that's supposed to help out with hand-eye coordination or anything. Um, but that all being said, Agiorgitiko, what it translates to actually is St. George's wine. Again, there's a bit confusion even there. There have been saying like, well, this wine was grown specifically for St. George's feast, the day of St. George's feast. St. George was one of the early Christian missionaries to Nema, Greece, and also the more likely story behind it is St. George's grape is named primarily because that's roughly where the chapel of St. George is. So Agiorgitiko, again, having a tough time pronouncing it myself, um, translates to St. George's grape. So what do we know about Agiorgitiko? Well, Agiorgitiko is ideally served at 60 to 68 degrees. You can actually get a decent bottle for roughly around $15. And if you wish to cellar it, but again, who on earth has that kind of time? Is 5 to 25 years. Again, I would also like to point out that in America, most people, after buying a bottle of wine, will have shared and drank it within 8 hours or so. Um, I don't have the space in my apartment to make that kind of commitment or patience. So, Agiorgitiko, the thing about this grape is, and after studying a little bit of it, is that it's very versatile in how it is produced. So this could be a light-bodied red, and this could be a full-bodied red, or you can even translate or transform this into a rosé, which I'll get a discussion into rosés themselves a little bit later. So why does Agiorgitiko go from a light-bodied red to a full-bodied red? Well, this grape is susceptible to all sorts of diseases or issues. It's susceptible to mold. It's also susceptible to potassium issues, like not potassium deficient. So this grape, by necessity, in order for it to survive, you have to pick it perhaps at a different time period during the harvest. So it's a very weird grape. In fact, the Greeks got to a point where, well, let's come up with a classification system that you typically find in France for Pinot Noir or Chardonnay or something like that. Or actually, well, France is primarily always a classification system. So when it comes to Agiorgitiko, there's a lot of variety in quality. Um, so there are some things, however, that is at the root of it, some experience. And one, it tends to be a little bit darker of a red wine. So you will see that it's closer-ish to purple-ish kind of dark color. Some sensations, smells, tastes that you'll experience will be like raspberry, blackberry, plum sauce, black pepper, and nutmeg. And again, what I want you to remember is when we're talking about smells and tastes, we're not making this up. we are experiencing these things. How do we experience these things? Again, wine is like everything else that you experience through your sensations when it comes to food and smell. It's just chemistry. So when you're swirling wine in your glass, or you're oxidizing it, or at least introducing a little chemical into the wine, if you will. And so you close your eyes and you sniff, and then you think, what is it that I had smelled here before? And in this case, you'll have a sensation of black pepper, nutmeg, raspberry. Raspberry. This is why I should probably be a professional. That way I could do several takes. Um, so those are some of the things that you derive from this. So Agiorgitiko, one of the best experiences I've actually had with Agiorgitiko was my wife and I, when we were at that Greek fest. There was also an Agiorgitiko rosé, and rosé, to describe it sufficiently, is rosé is not a grape. Rosé is a style of wine. Basically, when it comes to rosé, it all depends on how long the winemaker wants the skin of the grape to be left on during the process of winemaking. Red wine, the skin is left on the as part of the process longer than white wines. White wines, pretty much the skin is off almost immediately. The only example of this not being the case would be what's called orange wine. We can discuss that another time. So, rosé, therefore, is going to have a different kind of experience for different types of grapes. The majority of rosés that you'll run into are going to be drier. This is most likely because the most popular wines in this current era is drier wines, red wines, so to speak. You'll see that Cabernet Sauvignon, of course, is perhaps the most popular red wine. Definitely the most popular wine grown in the world when it comes to red wines. And the second most planted grape in the United States behind Chardonnay. I know, weird, right? So when it comes to rosé, technically the rosé that was of first importance to America is actually white Zinfandel. White Zinfandel came about because people were trying to come up, the winemakers were trying to come up with a bolder form of Zinfandel. And what was left over was essentially this pinkish color after the process. So they decided to bottle it and sell it as well as, quote, white Zinfandel. So white Zinfandel is a rosé just as much as a rosé that's blended with Grenache and Cinsault in France, in the Provence region. So that's a little bit of what you need to know about rosé. It's not a particular grape; it's actually a style for the coloration. But back to Agiorgitiko. I would say that if you are a fan of Merlot, that you might want to try Agiorgitiko. It's a fun grape. Again, it's the most commonly planted grape in Greece, primarily in the Nemo region and the Peloponnese Peninsula. See, that's even a tongue twister in and of itself. But Agiorgitiko translates to St. George's grape, and it's definitely an experience that you should try. And if you were to pair it with something, pair it with like spicier foods. You can even pair it with like Indian food as well, and that would actually be a very fun experience. So that is all that I have today for wine lesson. Tomorrow I will figure out what kind of grape to go with next. And until then, this is Mark, your Madison Cork Dork, trying to teach you about wine during this time of the coronavirus explosion, so to speak. Cheers. Keep learning about wine, drink responsibly, and please, I sincerely hope that the audio actually went over well today. Let me know in the comments if it did not. Of course, then you wouldn't be able to hear this. See you later.